Okay, in this video we'll talk about the Greensock. In this video we'll talk about the Greensock JavaScript library. Greensock stands for the Greensock Animation Platform. Greensock has been around for a long time. It previously was for animation in Flash, but since Flash went away, now you can animate SVG objects, you can animate any web objects, and it's a premium JavaScript library that's free. So if I scroll down here on this page at greensock.com, I can click Learn about GSAP, and there are some features, and there's this intro video, and so you can learn all about it. And then getting started with Greensock, you can learn all about it with this short video here. And it's very powerful, it's very robust. We talked about CSS animations before, but these JavaScript animations are really, really fast and they're actionable, so you can do a lot with the Greensock Animation Platform. So I have some code here in CodePen, and it's not animated right now. So I just basically have a main, I have a header with a heading and a subhead. I have a section with just this image. And what I want to do is I want to get this all animated in. So the Greensock Animation Platform is added to CodePen. I'm going to go up here to this gear icon, and I've already done this, but if you search for Greensock, you can find it, and then you can add it, and you may need to add the jQuery plugin as well. So you can add those two items here and then click Save and Close. And once you have those items added, you can use all of the Greensock Animation Platform functions and get started with the animation. So I'll show you here how to do a quick timeline animation. So the first thing we do is we set up a variable called TL, for short for timeline, and we use the GSAP timeline function to call on it. And then what we're going to do is call on that timeline, and then in Greensock you can either do from animations or to animations. So since all of my HTML elements are already set, there are already the values are already set, the text is here, the position, the size, the scale, the skew properties, all the properties have already been set. What I want to do is I want to animate from, so from a different set of properties. So if you think about it that way, you can animate to. So if you have a starting point and you have an endpoint in mind, animate to would be, so I'm starting here, but I animate to, so another value. So in my TL timeline, I'm going to say from, and then I open up a parentheses, and I'm going to target my heading first, and then I separate that with a comma, and then in these open brackets, I'm going to put in whatever parameters and that I want to animate. So the first thing I'll put in here is a duration. Duration is how many in seconds that I want to animate it. And then I need to put in the properties that I want to animate. So the first property I want to animate is the opacity. And I'm going to set that to 0. So it's not currently 0, it's currently 100%. Then I'm going to set the Y value to a negative value so that this will drop in from the top. And you'll see that animation play. So over 3 seconds, the heading comes down, and it increases in opacity as it does, and it goes down the screen. Now you can add additional from statements to other objects on the page. I only have 2 other objects. I'm going to go down. I'm going to say dot from, and then I'm going to target, this time I'm going to target the subhead. And same thing. So the duration here, I'm going to shorten the duration 2 seconds. Opacity is going to be 0 again. And the Y value needs to be a little bit higher so that it comes down. And let's see what that looks like. So then this one comes down, and then that one comes down. Now see, it's animating in, but it's following one after another. So I'm going to put a delay in here, and the delay will be a short amount, 0.5, so that they'll kind of come in together, and you can see what that looks like. So there's a short delay there. Okay, and then the last thing I want to do is just animate the image in. So that image has a class of feature, and I'm going to set the duration there to be a little bit longer than the other, to give it time. And then again, the opacity is going to be 0. And going to need to put in a delay here of 1 second. And then that's the whole animation altogether. So that's a Greensock animation with the timeline animation. Now you can use Greensock to animate in other ways. Let me just show you that. So here I have a main with a div with a class of block with an h3 inside, and I've styled that block to be a specific background color. I have a specific width and height. The text is centered, margin, and just to center the text. Right? And then I have my GSAP, and this one is, instead of from, it's doing to. So if I say GSAP 2, I'm targeting the block. I'm setting the duration to 4 seconds here. I'm sending it across the page with an X value of 800, and I'm rotating it, and then the scale is increasing by 1.5, and then the easing value is bounce. Now there's several easing values in GSAP. There's even in the GSAP page, there's this whole section down here that's all about the easing value. So there's power, and this little dot will show you what that easing value will look like. So that one's a little stronger. This one goes a lot faster. There's elastic, there's bounce. And we can try those and see what they look like. So if I change the, right now this is bounce, but if I change this to elastic, you can see what that looks like. So it kind of comes in and just kind of like bounces in. We also have those power options, power 1 through 4, and then you can do expo. Let's see what that looks like. It just kind of slides in and gets slower and slower as it comes in. So you can, there's one called circ. It comes even slower. And if you don't want any easing at all, this will just come in at one speed throughout the entire time, and you probably don't want to do that. You probably want to use one of the animation types, one of the easing values here. So this one's power 1. You can see what that looks like. So those are the easing values. Now the properties that you can animate. So you can animate X, Y. We're animating X here, but if we wanted to, we can animate Y as well. You notice we're animating rotation, but you can do rotation X and rotation Y. So if I just did rotation X, you see what that looks like. It's just flipping on the X axis. If I did rotation Y, it would do the opposite. So it's flipping that way. And so let's just go back to regular rotation. We have scale, but it could also be scale X and scale Y. So if I just did scale X, it just gets bigger on the X axis. We could also do scale Y, so this one should get taller. You can see that's getting taller. So the scale. You can animate skew and skew X or skew Y. So if I wanted to I can add in skew X and set a value here of 4. Let's see what that does. So that skews it in by 4 pixels. We can make this more pronounced if I did like 24. You can see the skew happen over time. So those are the properties that you can animate. We talked about the easing. And so what I'd like you to do is take the Greensock Animation Platform into your project and see if you can do something to animate the items in your page. So it's pretty simple to do, and the documentation will tell you how to do that. And so you can get results something like this. This is just opacity, and this is just Y, but you can certainly do a lot more. There are whole games that are created with Greensock. There are whole interactive experiences. Essentially, everything that happened with Flash is no longer. So we have JavaScript to fall back on in order to do complex animations and things with. So check this out. It's an amazing platform. You can do some really great things, and I've created whole projects with Greensock. So really, really awesome.